I just wanted to go over quickly about this Zenyatta gameplay. Just kind of giving my thoughts and how I would have played a little bit differently at certain times. And let's just give the first round of view. And this position is good for Zenyatta, just because he's in the back line. I'd be careful about him being dove upon, but this is generally how I play Zenyatta too, just because he has no fall off damage, and he's still able to throw his discords and his harmonies. Now you see that Winston kind of just hopped right in, kind of trying to attack the back of the team, but didn't realize maybe that Zenya was there. So at that point, he got discorded, which is the right move to do, and he needs to be finished off. And that's exactly what they did. And also, another thing I'm noticing is that the Zenyatta is not really optimizing his healing. He's not giving it to the main tank, which, me personally, during a fight, I usually keep my healing on the main tank. And this also was actually a really, really bad mistake. He put himself away from the team. He's isolated in this corridor where he can be, easily killed by a flanker if it happens to be so. And you can see that Lucio went to taxi the Brigitte. Now, this means that Zenyatta is the only healer on this team, and they're about to re-engage really quick. And so this may have been not the best move to do, not only for positioning, but also as a team, not telling the Lucio to kind of taxi the Brigitte, especially when they were going to re-engage really quick.
I'm a little ISO'd, I'm trapped because of this Hanzo. So if they dive me, they'll get me.
Luckily, he wasn't dived. And again, I would try to keep the healing on the main tank. Those last few seconds of just throwing orbs out there in hopes of actually hitting someone, I definitely would have given myself like a little bit of time, maybe like half a second, to kind of just refocus and then maybe discord someone and try to aim towards that. That's what I usually do if there's a lot of people on point, is I just find someone to discord, call it out, and aim for the discord orb, since I'm not really hitting anything, if you're not discording something or just kind of throwing it out there.
Lucio. Diva.
Now this point is a little bit tough, as we see two ults come out from the enemy team. We see the Blade, we see the Diva Bomb, and you can use your Transcendence at this point. However, one thing I'm noticing this Zenyatta's not really doing is taking a look at what ultimates his team has, just to see if there's any possibility of re-engaging after maybe someone dies, especially like our Lucio, who just recently died from the enemy Lucio. So let's just see how it plays out. And he does pop his ultimate. And luckily, they did have the right ultimates to kind of re-engage with. Now, Winston is diving the Zenyatta in the back, and he's not getting as much help. The Lucio did pop his ult. He probably didn't even notice it, just because it doesn't seem like anyone else is focusing that Winston. But now, if you can look right here, the bubble is covering his entire line of sight. And at that point, it's a little bit difficult to kind of re-engage on the enemies, because you got this bubble here. It's harder to use your harmony orbs as well as discord orbs, and you kind of you're isolated again. And luckily, even if he was isolated, that Winston is the only enemy on the point, and he just wasted his ult because there's nobody else on the point. All he did was just become an ult battery for the healers.
I got you.
Zen, heal a Diva so you get ult charge.
They don't have break.
Can we demake Diva so I can pop grab?
Yep.
Run.
I'm low health. Focus line. I got Moira.
Diva.
Let's go, baby. We win though.
Alright, and that was some pretty decent shot calling at that point.
We have all three support ults. We have also three support ults. And we have
If they
Grab, I know.
No, if they grab, only use B. Alright? Only use B. Alright?
use
But after that, okay?
Now here is a little bit trickier because again, Zenyatta could have used his ult at this very moment to see, you know, if he can kind of protect his team. It's really hard, of course, to kind of use your ult when the enemy Reinhardt uses his ultimate, but sometimes you can use it, sometimes you can't. Maybe you don't have the fast enough reaction, but again, it all depends on the follow-up what the enemy team has. And luckily, the Reinhardt blocked it. The enemy Zenyatta is starting to use his Transcendence to re-engage the fight and kind of hopefully get a few picks, but it looks like there wasn't even enough follow-up. So they used up 3 ults. And they didn't even have to use any of the other ults to re-engage except for Brigitta's.
Okay, nice, Chris, nice.
Speed. Get the Mora.
Shot it. Guys, I'm gonna go for a bumper shot.
Now that's a really risky idea, just because, you know, you're not familiar with your team. See if he can peel for you like Bumper can.
Let's go.
Ryan.
And again, he's not really prioritizing his healing as much. He probably may have wanted to use that ult just a split second earlier to see if he can possibly save his Zarya. And he calls out for the Ryan, but no one really engages on him either. He didn't get that much help from his team, but there was so much going on the point. That's easily understandable.
Run up and die. You're gonna get back.
Yeah, go. Drop the point.
Keep it going.
Back up.
Dude, that's toxic.
We still have grab those.
We are done for
Grip kick. Next time, don't go for shadows like that. Got it?
So Zenyatta has roughly a good idea what he should be doing is being between this wall and the other wall to kind of get a peek of sights. However, he extended a little bit too far out and he hasn't fully charged his orbs yet.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna shatter.
And he got slightly punished for that.
Okay, we're gonna stun shatter, alright? We're gonna stun shatter.
And that was a really whiffed Graviton by the enemy team.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Right now.
Huh?
Push up.
Run, Reed.
I'm shattered.
Run down.
Alright, I'll just push it down.
Winnable.
That was not winnable. As you can see, Stinky Pants literally got all 3 supports. All 3 of them. And even with that, what did we take out? We took out the Reinhardt, we took out the Lucio, but the biggest threats are still, and of course, the Diva coming in, as well as the Zarya.
Winnable.
We win.
No, dude, no support.
No support.
Fall back, Chris. Fall back to another foot.
Ryan can. We need the Ryan.
Yeah.
Die point. Diva die point.
Alright, we'll use grab to build up ults.
I'm gonna speed back Ryan and
And this is also a good position too for Zenyatta. As you can see, he has natural slope right here, as well as walls. So he has this little sliver of where he can shoot, where enemies will essentially be. So this is like proper positioning in my opinion, and this is the way I would play it too.
So excited.
They still have grab.
Push it.
No,
He just got it.
Ryan.
Ryan just got it. Ryan.
I'm dead. Alright. I was just going for so long.
No, winnable. Stay up.
Winnable. Use off. You win this.
Diva.
And again, at that point, he may have been able to use his ultimate to kind of protect his team after the shadow went down. You know, again, it's very hard to do that maneuver. Sometimes I'm able to do it myself. Sometimes I can't. You know, it's just all about reaction time and kind of getting a guess of when the Reinhardt will start using it. As you can see, the Reinhardts generally, if they have the ultimate, they're not going to be spamming their 5-strike every 6 seconds, as they don't want to give the healers any more ult charge, especially when like before a fight or or so forth. But during the fight itself, of course, he may want to use it. But I didn't see many fire strikes at all, so he definitely had his ultimate, and he was waiting for the right moment.
Come back fast.
I vote.
Run on me, I need him. Run.
Run far up. Run Discord.
Come back.
Diva.
Lucio.
And that was too many people shot calling at the same time, which happened in my games a couple of days ago. It's just really hard to focus who, especially if there's 3 different people calling out 3 different targets.
I'm gonna stay. Rick will stay. Back up.
They don't touch.
Oh, damn.
And there we go.
They don't touch. They know to touch. Let's go, boys.